In this video, I'll show you how to create long-form optimized content like this that has a balance of SEO and readability that even naturally includes internal and external links, which automatically includes jump links and has FAQ schema markup built into it, complete with featured images that follow brand guidelines. And it will generate in-depth content that's over 4,000 words long. And it even creates a Google Doc so that you have a chance to edit it before it gets published to your website. All that I need to do to create one of these articles is create a new record in my Airtable setup. Then I'm using N8N automations like this content writer and this automation, which generates the featured image. To get started, I'm just going to find a blog post that I want to create. Then I'm going to create a new record. I just need to give it a rough title, set the URL slug, and give it a keyword. I'll also give it a category, which informs my URL structure. And then all I need to do is set the status to production. Now that the status is in production, I can run my content writing workflow, and it's going to pick up on that record that I just created. While it's working, I'll explain what each step does. So first up, it triggers when the Airtable notices a status change, and then it finds any records that have a status set to production. Then it starts a loop. The loop allows me to create more than one article in one go. So I can put several records in here into production, and it'll just write all of them for me. Next up, it's going to get client info. This is just a Google Doc that explains the brand, what the company is about, and other key details. I can also specify things like the country to use, the dialect, or the language that the content should be written in. Next up, I'm pulling in all of my prompts from my prompt library. Keeping all of your prompts in a separate location like a prompt library makes them way easier to manage, because if I want to tweak my prompt, I just need to pull this up in my prompt library and make edits to it. If you're keeping all of your prompts in N8N and you're making copies of the same workflow, your prompts are going to get messed up over time. It's currently writing the content which takes the longest, so I'll explain the previous steps. First up, it's going to do query research. How this works is it's taking the keyword and it's doing Google searches, and then it's reading web pages that rank on Google for this search term. And its goal is to output a list of questions that the content is answering. By finding all of the questions that the top pages are answering, I'm able to put together a content brief that has everything that I need to rank. Next up, I turn those questions into a content outline, and I actually have it set up so that it outputs it as structured JSON. This allows me to use the fields later in the workflow, and I can also generate each section separately, which is why it's able to create such in-depth content. Next up, we iterate the heading sections. That means that I am chopping up each section into a separate prompt to get written. Then I grab the answer format instructions from my prompt library. You'll notice that in my brief, every section has an answer format, and this specifies the type of query and allows me to give specific instructions on how to best answer that type of query. In my prompt library, I have all of the answer formats. These were actually leaked by Mark Williams Cook a while ago. They found through a study of over 90 million queries that Google classifies all queries into these different formats. There's short fact, other comparison, consequence, reason, definition, instruction, and Boolean. And because all of my sections are generated separately, I can provide specific instructions on how to answer each type of query. For example, the short fact, I specify that it should be 2 to 4 sentences, and then we give it the structure. First, we provide an immediate answer. Then we back it up with proof, and we finish it with additional considerations like nuances or clarifications. Then I specify how to go into subtopics and expand on that section with more detail. I provide the output structure template and example outputs. And I do this for all answer formats, which allows me to customize how it's going to write each individual section. When the outline is being generated, it's actually deciding what the answer format should be based on the query. For example, this section is called How to Budget for Employee Benefits, and it's an instruction. And the description is to provide methods and strategies. So when it gets that instruction, it's going to write that section. And it's also going to do Google searches to find internal and external links. So it will naturally incorporate links to other pages on my website. And it will also link out to authoritative sources. And it can even pull up and read web pages if it needs additional context. It's outputted 14 items, and it's going to stitch them together. The 14 items are all of these separate sections. This code node stitches them together, and then I run an edit content node. This doesn't replace what a human editor can do. You definitely still want to edit the content manually when it hits Google Docs before you publish it. The edit content prompt is just fixing common errors. For example, because all of these sections are generated separately, sometimes there can be overlap in the topics or the subtopics. So the edit content prompt has instructions to catch duplicates and remove them. This is the edit content prompt. It checks for a bunch of general best practices. And most importantly, it tries to fix formatting issues. For example, I noticed that sometimes it labels sections as question or answer or call to action in the output. So all I have to do is put a rule into the edit content prompt to catch that stuff and what to do with it. These next steps here are just to give it a unique title in my Google Drive. So if there's two records with the same name, it just adds a number at the end so you can tell which one is which. Then it creates a document, sends it all of the content, formats it, and moves it to the correct folder. And then it updates the status in Airtable. And again, this is a loop. So if there was more than one record in here, it would just immediately start repeating the process for the next article. Here's the article I just generated called How to Calculate Employee Benefits. The status is set to load, and it filled out some fields for us like the page title and the meta description. And here is the Google Doc that it created. Overall, this guide is 5,620 words. Let's take a quick look at the output. Here's your title and meta description. These section names get removed when it gets uploaded to WordPress. They turn into the IDs, which is used for jump links. So I don't want to remove those. And then it opens directly with what employee benefits, which is an H2. And this would be a definition answer format. So it starts by answering it directly. Employee benefits are additional forms of compensation, blah, blah, blah. And this structure of having a question and then restating the question immediately as your introduction to the answer is how search engines and AI crawlers are able to pick up on the content and easily index them. This kind of writing style is good for AI overviews, and it'll increase the likelihood that your content gets picked up in ChatGPT and other AI models. Then it provides some context about what employee benefits are and some additional information and nuance. Then it goes into the subtopics such as types of employee benefits and the importance of employee benefits and calculating the cost of employee benefits. This is an example of why you still want to be editing the content at this stage, because you might find errors such as links. It looks like links didn't get naturally incorporated into the post here. So we just do some minor edits to plug those links in, like so. And then the rest of the article continues on with the same structure of creating sections from the research and answering those sections with my specified answer formats. Then at the end of the article, we have several frequently asked questions about employee benefits, and finally a call to action. In my prompts, I just specify that the call to action should be to subscribe to our newsletter. This is customizable. You can change it to get a quote or download our software, whatever your goal is with the content. Overall, this is a comprehensive article, and you could even chop out entire sections and still have tons of content to work with. Next up, I'm going to publish the content to my WordPress website. This is my test website where I mess around with AI. You can see that there's no post about employee benefits yet. So my publishing automation works by looking for records that have a load status. So when I run this, it should find my new article and publish it to WordPress. This cleanup code node is the most important. It adjusts all the formatting and modifies it so that it can go to WordPress without any format issues. Now when I reload my posts, I should see it popping up here. Here's my new post, how to calculate employee benefits. And it looks like it published without any formatting errors. Here's the section IDs built in that work as jump links. Having each section labeled will also be helpful in the future because I plan to make automations that are going to update specific sections of the content without totally rewriting the page. Now I just need a featured image for this post. To do that, I just set my status to update featured image. And then my featured image workflow goes to work. All of these have the same looping strategy. And what this one does is it actually gets the featured image prompt instructions, which has my brand guidelines and styling guidelines so that there's consistency. It sends it to a chat model to generate the perfect featured image prompt. Then it sends that prompt to a generate featured image node. After that, it'll even write the EXIF data as well as alt tags and give it an optimized title, upload it to WordPress, and attach it to my post. Now when I reload this page, we should see the featured image. You can tell it's AI generated because it spelled benefits completely wrong, but that's okay. I can just rerun it, or I can modify the prompt instructions to not try and write titles. But overall, I'm able to create long form content really easily. It's got a good balance between optimization, readability, as well as depth and expertise in the content. So it should perform quite well. So a couple quick disclaimers for AI generated content strategies like this. Number one, you want to be testing this stuff out before going all in and pumping out tons of AI generated content. Creating a bunch of content too quickly can actually be harmful for your site. So make sure that you test it in small batches first before generating hundreds of articles. I'm running this on a test website, so there's really no risk for me. If you're working on a live website for a real business, you want to be a little bit more careful. Number two, I mentioned this earlier, but you still want to be editing the content. You should ideally get an expert to edit the content and revise it, someone who knows your industry and knows your company or your products or services. That could be you or somebody that you work with. And number three, the performance of AI generated content depends largely on the site that it's going on. If you have a high authority site, it's going to be way easier to rank. Whereas if you're working with a newly established website, it's going to take a lot longer to see the results. And finally, internal links and backlinks have much more impact than you think. I've seen a lot of scenarios where companies produce a ton of new content, but they totally overlook the internal linking, and then those new pages don't even get indexed, let alone rank for anything. So you want to be adding internal links as you go. If you want to learn more about AI automation and SEO, you can join the AI SEO Academy. You just need to Google it. There's over 2,000 members in the group, and it's free to join. When you join, you'll get over 50 tools that I've already built that automate AI and SEO. And there's a ton of smart people in the group that you can connect with. I hope you found this video helpful. In future videos, I'll get into more details about how to build these types of workflows and also how to customize them and use them at scale. And I'll also be building more workflows around link building and internal linking. See you in the next one.